All for joining in today. Uh, I am Sahil Pasrija, part of Northern membership team at Com. Welcome you all and thank you for taking out time to attend this session. Today's session is about the strategies and approaches linked with digital marketing. Since digital marketing as a concept needs no introduction, impact of digital marketing on our businesses growth will continue to grow as more and more brands go digital. With this session, leaders will cover nuances associated with brand positioning, ORM, and blend the talk with real examples of digital growth. To share views on the same, we have in the panel today Mr. Diparthuk Chakraborty, CMO L&T Next, Mr. Navneet Kaushal, CEO and founder Page Traffic, Mr. Tanuj Singh, Global Head Marketing, JK Technosoft. With this, may I please invite moderator for today's session, Mr. Tarun Singhal, Director Business Development and Marketing and Communications, Sopra Steria India, to set the context and invite fellow panelists. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sahil. Good afternoon, namaste to everyone, and happy Bastille Day to all French friends attending the session. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar on digital marketing, the business pulse. SMEs account for around 45% of total industry output and 40% of total exports. Though SMEs have huge opportunities for growth in the country, it has been seen that most of them do not scale up and keep addressing only a smaller section. Digital marketing is in the spotlight and has an added dimension in this new normal world. As Marcom professionals, we have to rethink and realign our strategies in an era of social distancing and an unpredictable environment that has forced many companies into crisis management. Emerging technologies are key to executing an effective personalization strategy for digital marketing. Gartner recently published a report mentioning that 63% of digital marketing leaders still struggle with personalization, yet only 17% use AI and machine learning across the function. Part of the problem is that digital marketing leaders are still scaling the use of emerging technologies such as AI and ML to align with their customer acquisition and retention goals. All through my sales and marketing professional career, I have always kept the 4 C's model: capability, customer, channel, and competitor on top of my planning charts. It offers the strategic outlook and guidance on the factors that are required for the success of the business and attaining the brand value. With this in the backdrop, now without further ado, I would like to turn the time over to our eminent speakers. As Sahil briefly mentioned, I would in detail talk a little bit about each of the speakers before I ask the questions to them. We have got some questions we received in the last few days from some of you. So we have with us today Diptaroop Chakraborty. He is the CMO for L&T Next. Diptaroop is a SaaS marketing leader with over 20 years experience in heading global marketing functions for leading tech and SaaS product companies and over 15 years experience in analyst relationship, both as an analyst with Gartner, as well as by driving the AR function in various marketing roles. Next, we have Tanuj Singh, who is the Global Head Marketing, JK Tech. Tanuj is an award-winning marketing leader with experience in helping grow businesses 10x bigger and 10x faster than the competition. We also have with us Navneet Kaushal, who is the CEO for Page Traffic. Navneet is the founder of Page Traffic, one of the Asia's oldest and most trusted search marketing agency that helps entrepreneurs maximize their profits online through digital marketing. Now, All of you are the ones who set the tone for how customers perceive the brand during a difficult time. Let me begin by asking all three of you, and we can go in the same order, Diptaroop, Navneet, and Tanuj. In a crisis situation like the one we are going through, which is subject to rapid change, what has been your proactive plan to adjust and adapt, lead the teams, speak to customers, and manage the brand? What have been your strategy for B2B marketing? So before Diptaroop steps in, I would also request once again, if any one of you have any questions, please use the feature of chat box or question Q&A box and type in your question, and we'll try and accommodate as many questions as we can. So Diptaroop, over to you for this first question.
Okay, yeah. So what has happened in the last year and a half is that all marketing, as far as I know, has become digital. To reach out to customers, we had to go digital because there was no option, no other channels left, and it became crystallized even further into international markets. Even though these markets started opening up, right? Especially in B2B scenario. Now, B2B scenario, just for those perhaps new to this, is the only other major channel that was offline was events, right? Events also became online, and people did after being skeptical of webinars for the last 5 odd years or so, they became very active on webinars. So one of the things that happened in the digital world is that newer channels started getting explode. Newer ways to reach those started getting explode, as well as your messaging and the way you reached out getting exploded. I'll give you a small example. In the beginning of this pandemic, around March, April, you would get mails like, "I hope you are healthy and safe," right? That used to be a standard protocol. Now that obviously has reduced. You don't receive those mails, but that was a standard protocol to open up mails. So what happened in the last year that in B2B marketing, we have seen that new processes like ABM became mainstream, which was usually not taken up by smaller MSME companies, were not taking up so much, but ABM has now become mainstream. Database marketing, having a robust database, has become mainstream. Marketing automation, again, investment in marketing automation is something which is expensive, right? The tools out there are mostly international American companies, and so they're expensive. But companies, even smaller companies, even companies with $5-10 million revenue, have started investing in marketing automation. Then product marketing also has become a key part of digital marketing. What I'm saying is that usually earlier, the demand generation or the growth marketing function used to do digital marketing on its own without tying up with what the product has to say. Now that is a close collaboration with this. So these are some of the ways that we have tackled this problem, and it is becoming deeper and deeper as we go along.
So thank you, Diptaroop. That was very precise and insightful. So Navneet, would you like to add your piece to this, please?
Yes. So in a broader sense, because we serve most of the SMEs, so what we have seen, of course, when this started, then a lot of companies went into a panic mode. So a lot of customers say they don't want to continue, they are not sure, because suddenly everybody thought the future is very uncertain. So now what we call as a new normal, people were getting adjusted to it. So as you asked that how you adjusted your team and how you was for the clients. So first of all, for the clients, our outreach was for our client, which was very, very important to tell them that, yes, we are here. If anybody of them has a budgetary issue or any other issues, we are open. So there are times when we have to, when there was a complete lockdown, people were not making much money, companies were not making money. So we actually have to offer our services for discounted price, in fact for free as well. So we have one big client who have in education, but they have like but the institutes were not open, so they said that they don't want to continue because they don't know when it's going to open. So we have to offer them a lot of things, which initially was that to sustain the customer, but eventually that was the first 2-3 months when everybody was not sure. So not my team, nothing. Then after 2-3 months, we started having these and all other companies. And if you would see in the last 6-7 months, in last, let's say 1 year, is the one where all the digital companies have a very good growth. So the growth have started because suddenly people understand that it's important to be on a digital medium, and what we all call as a digital transformation. So digital transformation, when it was a knee-jerk reaction, people were just pushing it off. Then suddenly this COVID actually accelerated the growth, specifically for anybody who wants to come online, do everything. So of course, and lots of SaaS product starts is coming online. A lot of people wanted to do everything online, and they understand because the uncertainty is in their life, the business. So that's where we saw as in a lot of companies, and in fact, we have grown more than 20% in last 12 months, and we have in terms of revenue, but more in terms of team as well, and people now understand the value of it. So the thing has that people have understood this, and we are seeing the new normal where people wants to move online, and the digital transformation has taken place, which is actually helping all of us and enabling also, because we are completely digital marketing company. So yes, it does help.
No, thank you, Navneet, for that. That's very, very useful. So Tanuj, moving to you, JK Tech has been in the industry for a few decades now, and so would you like to share some of your thoughts and how you have cruised through these times?
Oh, absolutely, Tarun. Thank you for the question. I think Deep Tarup and Navneet have spoken about couple of essential key changes in the overall strategy. In this unprecedented time today, B2B market leaders are actually operating in a very vastly different environment compared with just a few years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, right? So, what is happening with the heightened buyer expectations? Now it requires new approaches. And what I see is a truly buyer first orientation happening, right? And also I see a lot of pressure to prove marketing's value and revenue impact from digital marketing, right, has also intensified in the post-COVID world. So one of the other thing I wanted to talk about is where I see a lot of enterprises re-looking at is, ensuring they have a sound long-term marketing strategy. When I talk about marketing strategy, a lot of people get confused between marketing strategy and marketing plan, right? I think now in post-COVID world, enterprises are now looking to re-look at that marketing strategy. How is it aligning with corporate growth goals, right? And it has to be very, very laser focused from a business standpoint, and should be able to translate into actionable plans. And that itself is not a small feat, right? So, what I'm seeing is it needs a lot of bold, unwavering vision change, and also agility to course correct, because not all of us had, kind of vision that kind of a sea change in the overall condition. So one of the other thing which we are looking at, and this I can talk from my experiences, how do you optimize your digital marketing budgets when you talk from B2B perspective? Right. So we have always, spoken about an ABM strategy and leads, but I think to optimize your digital marketing budgets, one of the other interesting area where probably we can focus is the, the overall buying signal, which, because if you start tracking presence of multiple individuals, let's say within the same organization, who are researching your products and solution or services at the same time, right? Then you can actually kind of lead it back to the personas, right? And then you can make your organization's buying group aware, and within your account also, you can also be more and more opportunity centric. So that is how you kind of start optimizing on your digital marketing budgets, etc. So these are some pointers probably we should look at, in terms of the overall change in strategy and plans.
Okay, so thank you, Tanuj. That was very, very useful. In fact, all three of you have just shared the right insights for people to gather the inputs and bring it to practice. So while you are there, Tanuj, let me start with you this time. As you might remember, Google turned off reviews temporarily for many industries at the start of the global pandemic. This was due to an abundance of negative reviews. Now, Google saw this as unfair to the businesses who did not have a choice in the matter and did not want the negative reviews to damage their reputation. So this means a lot of marketers and business leaders like you all have had to work even harder to get those critical reputation-based numbers back up. So how has the online reputation management evolved and transformed in the current context for you? We'll start with you, Tanuj, and then we'll move to the other two speakers.
No, absolutely. You kind of pointed it very rightly. And, in fact, that kind of made a lot of marketers start thinking about reputation management and the impact it can have on our business, right? So, and if I have to talk about more from SME business owners, they're really unsure how to build, protect, and also use their reputation effectively in the post-COVID world, right? We have been talked and we have gone through a lot of marketing lessons around creating better experiences and the importance of revenue, etc. But in a world today which is inundated with choices, right? Reviews are the holy grail. We all understand that, right? And it could actually impact your conversion. So I was actually looking at, while we were also looking at the overall online reputation. So I was, doing, my own set of research, etc. And, I came to an understanding, and which was very significant. So your aggregate review rating can increase from, when it increased from 3.5 to, let's say, 3.7, it could experience 120% growth in conversion, right? And if your review rating increases just by even 0.1%, you can actually experience a conversion rate boost of 25%, right? This is very significant. Right. So what we need to really do is from an overall standpoint, when I have to talk about the strategy, we have to start looking at different types of reputation and look at where your reputation is strong and weak. That is the key, right? So and then start prioritizing on the areas of your business that requires your attention. It's not only about creating those reviews. I think it is also to, from an insight perspective, right? You have to start looking at how do you improve your product quality, how do you focus on improving customer service, and then look from outside perspective when you're so which review platform, for example, you have the biggest impact from a revenue generation perspective. So you have to start looking at that. And the other thing, for example, a lot of companies, let's say in the lifestyle and F&B, etc., they have to start looking at the reviews for specific brand at location level, etc., so that they can, the marketing managers themselves can start monitoring, responding, and analyzing all the reviews from the channel. So, it's not only about looking at the ORM from a corporate perspective, but you have to now start looking at the brands and the product, etc. So there is a change in the way we have to start operating when we are talking about online reputation. The other thing is also to see that, you have a crisis management in place. From protecting your reputation perspective. And in the post-COVID world, we have seen a lot of impact around that as well. So be prepared with the crisis management plan is my takeaway, from an ORM perspective.
That's good, Tanuj, and I think this has been a very important point for most of the organizations. And thank you for sharing your stroke JKT's views on this. So Diptaroop, would you like to share your insights on this particular topic, please?
Yeah, so I come from a background where we have been selling to enterprise customers. That's Fortune 500 billion dollar plus customers, global markets, right? So there, obviously, online reputation of individuals or the corporate matters not so much as, say, for example, if you're selling it to a more not a consumer oriented, but say a smaller enterprises, right, where reviews and matters, right? So what we have seen is that because everything is in digital and you're not being able to have those face-to-face meetings, you don't have to have those networking events or stuff like that. What we have seen is that dependence, and this is one kind of customer reviews or review online reputation management itself, is the kind of is the testimonials and the case studies that you have. And there has been a deeper engagement investment in how do you make those case studies more credible and believable, because that is what is happening. Because we all know that references work on the basis of, okay, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But when you're making case studies and you're giving valuable data points to buttress your your conjecture, that makes a lot of important. That's one way of handling ORM, I think, today, right? Especially in enterprise customers. The second one, which we have seen, is that in the last year and a half, a lot of leaders who were say social media shy, online shy, did not want to be active on LinkedIn or Twitter on their own, have started becoming active, talking about their organizations. And I'm talking about the organizations where not. Yeah, there's an echo. I'm talking about organizations who are selling largely to enterprises, SaaS companies, the unicorns, and all the stuff have been giving. If you there was a report I read, like the unicorns, top 100 unicorns or something like that. The CEO speak in online media platforms, right? Okay, has increased by a factor of 3.5x in the last 1.5 years, which means more CEOs are speaking where they were not speaking earlier, and that goes to build the reputation. And as you see, in the last 6 months, 14 unicorns were created in India alone. So the way to what is happening is the people have understood the importance of being active digitally, being present digitally, having a voice on the digital platforms, and using not just the typical when you're having a investor release or a press release and all the stuff. You're speaking to smallest of small publication, not just the Economist and the Economic Times of the world, right? So that is one way of looking at the online reputation management that has changed, I think, in the last year and a half.
Thanks, Navneet. So coming over to you, thanks, Diptaroop. Coming over to you, Navneet.
Of course, as Tanuj and Diptaroop said, it is absolutely right. But what happened after just going back to your original question, Google posted some of the reviews, then you were not able to post replies, and then if you had any issues, they just simply said, we do not have enough staff right now. And so a lot of things went delayed because of that, and because the brands could not push any supportive messages. Also, we saw one thing when there were, because as the pandemic started, there were lots of drop in the social media spent, specifically on Facebook or the other channels, which we saw that time. So what I would rather talk about is that if somebody has these type of issues, how do they address that? So that would be also an important point, specifically from a SME's point, because those are our major clients. So I would say, as we have seen, that anybody who tried to push in these times, anything direct sales become a problem. There were a lot of harsh comments. That's where the negativity was, that people think that somebody's trying to cash on these. So there are a lot of instances on those. So I would only point out some of these things which could help repairing these and help not putting them into a bad online reputation for you. So first of all was you need to develop, and that is what we did with our clients, that we developed a positive and supportive brand voice. So instead of just pushing your brand or product, you need to push the benefits about your products, about your services. And we did the campaigns broadcasting the benefits of the brand. So it was not about sales. If somebody is doing that, so they need to do more about the benefits. And one thing with this online reputation, which have actually increased and actually went a little cheaper also, was the social media influencers. So that also helps in an online reputation, because when we talk about reputation, it's just not somebody typing your name in Google, it's everywhere. So how much brand recall you have, how much brand positive messages you are sending is also an important criteria for looking into online reputation. So if social media influencer marketing actually picked up and social media influencers to amplify your brand, that also improved. And one thing we have seen that we have urged a lot of our clients to start responding to the reviews. So some of them will stop not reviews, even if they are negative or positive, you need to take all of them in a positive light. And that's where we thought that it's important. And as we see that the reputation, because more and more people understood that since they are closed and there is no way, it's only digital, how they can reach more and more customers, how they can monitor. So the increase of subscription for our social media tools and the demand for social media tools also increased for this reputation. So that's also something for basically online reputation management monitoring. So those are the things which we've seen as such, which actually helped be after this, because we don't want when Google will again stop some of these. And if somebody wants to keep on reviewing, if let's say somebody's on 3.1, and as Tanuj say, 3.7 makes a sense. But what if Google stops taking your reviews at 3.1? You're stuck. So you just can't put all your eggs in one basket, and that's where we recommend that just don't rely on one. Go on Facebook, have social media influencer, talk about other things. A lot of people went to Instagram, the usage of social media channels increased. So that's where people have to start investing as well from a reputation perspective. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Navneet. If you just stay on, let me ask you the next question first. So being an owner of a small to medium-sized business, one has to work on a tight budget with minimum resources. Now, under such circumstances like the industry is in today, what methods would you all, I mean, three of you, starting with you, Navneet, recommend to create a wider reach along with a timely impact?
See, the thing now on a digital marketing is for free. So I wouldn't say, okay, for a wider reach, post 2 updates daily on a Facebook, not gonna help. Unless you amplify it, Facebook is not gonna do anything about it. Instagram is not gonna do about it. But what I've seen with this pandemic is that people are more into online. Of course, a lot of people still read newspaper online. They haven't started their doorstep deliveries. So what we have seen is that reading habits have increased, and what becomes a good medium is to go out and write lots and lots of posts, lots of articles on your blog. Be active on your blog. That's the cheapest medium to have. And write good articles, informative posts, not just, as I mentioned before, just not talking about your brand, but maybe talking about benefits, industry. So those are the things which would help for the SMEs where they want to go out, grow out, and not just look for a reviews, because people read review on Amazon too, but eventually the product is what they feel and subscribe to or buy. So, and they go to your website as well. So if you have a website which is very professional, which talks about, and which has support section, which talks about everything what you are doing, and even if you are doing something, you are not working, well, most of your team is working from home, mention it, because it's important to tell that people, yes, you are working, you are navigating through this crisis like everybody else. Basically, the bottom line is you need to show your human touch or human face, not just a brand. So that becomes important for any brand.
Very rightly said, Navneet. So what are your views, Diptaroop, on, how are you managing this? Some of the insights you can share with our audience, please.
Okay, so managing is basically, one of the things that we have noticed is that people are willing to explore and take risks with brands which were not so known earlier. Okay, so it is not, and I'm coming from a background said that if you could just throw light on the question again, Tarun, just so that I can, if you can just reiterate the question a little bit.
So let me just read it out again for you. So being an owner of a small to medium-sized business, one has to work on a tight budget with minimum resources. So under such circumstances as we are in today, what methods would you like to recommend to create a wider reach along with a timely impact?
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And my apologies for not being able to understand the question earlier. Okay, so for me, again, as I said, from a smaller business working in international markets, addressing larger accounts, I think the one I would strongly recommend everybody who is trying to do digital is get a more targeted approach. Get a more, which is basically ABM, right? And ABM and sales are working very closely with. Now, ABM obviously has become mainstream in the last 2.5 years, and is really caught on in the last year. So when you have a minimal budget, if your targeting is more accurate, the responses will also be better, right? You obviously budget and cut off. You cannot spray and pray as you were doing earlier. Sales will not accept leads and interests which are basically from people which will never convert to business. Sales will push. In fact, there's a joke going on that for the sales now, a signed purchase order is the only marketing qualified lead that they will accept. Of course, it has not gone so bad, but so my suggestion would be, my recommendation in these cases would be that spend a lot on understanding the audience, and target them particularly. Use ABM to understand understand where are your business coming from. 80-20 principle is extremely applicable. You have tools and algorithms, and where you can narrow down your targeting to get the best possible responses. Go international. Now the everybody, especially companies which are based in India, believe that it is more expensive to get business out of, say, US or Europe or whatever. It is for sure, but your ticket sizes also increases, so that the cost benefit pays off in the long run. Secondly, if a product of yours is accepted in international market, automatically it gets credibility in other markets across the globe. Unless if you're a domestic market, you will only be recommended within the India market. So that's the second recommendation I would say. Third is that reduce your spend, and this is from my experience and my point of view. Reduce your experience in search engine marketing, because it is becoming more and more expensive. Earlier, it was expensive only in the international markets. Today, the bidding rates in India has also become pretty steep. Use in a MSCB B2B market, B2B background. I think LinkedIn is your best friend. Almost everybody that you want to target is on LinkedIn, and they are becoming more and more active. Use them well. I'm not plugging LinkedIn over here. There's not a brand endorsement at all. But yes, it's the best way to get. And surprise, for me, your focus a lot, not surprise, but use WhatsApp for business as a channel to reach out, especially in emerging markets. It may not be so much in the developed markets. In emerging markets, WhatsApp for business works. Maybe you should explore that channel as well. There are many other things which you could go on, but perhaps the time factor will be a problem. But I can address them in questions. So yeah, that's what I would say.
No, thanks, Deeptaroop, and that takes us to you, Tanuj, where you come from a wide experience, both working with startups and now working for a large organization. So, how would you, like to guide the audience on this particular aspect?
Sure. So, even before I start, Tarun, Deeptaroop, I can certainly correlate with your joke, and that is where actually, the overall expectation is heading to, right? So now coming back to the question, Tarun. So I'm a firm believer in do more with less, okay, and also in Jugaad marketing. I'll give you one example which I did recently. So so you are aware, for example, we did the whole rebranding for JK Tech, right? So one of the thing I did was I said, how do we create interest, okay, without spending too much on the rebranding effort? So one of the things we picked up was we actually picked up from an influencer marketing perspective, a mountaineer with a cause. And that is a cause which as an organization we truly supported, right? So we actually funded him for his Mount Everest expedition. And we actually launched the brand identity at the top of Mount Everest. Okay. So you can understand the PR value and the interest it could create, right? Without spending too much, from a dollar perspective. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, creating tribes. I think, it is high time that we start looking at increasing our network through partnerships, etc. Voice amplification and loyalty is still key. I mean, I don't think anything has changed in a decade or so, right? We still, things like offering a newsletter, referral marketing, free trials still work very, very well. And that too in the SMB space. The other thing I wanted to talk about from small business perspective and businesses which are starting, many business owners actually have a hard time narrowing down their target market, etc. Because one, they do not have a large marketing organization to do research, etc. And also there is too little data sometimes also and lot of other priority areas from them from a core perspective, right? So this often actually leads to small businesses targeting more than one audience type, right? And then they improve their target as they grow. So so what I'm saying is this is actually good to have more than one target customer set in mind. It increases your customer reach also, since there are more and more potential customers, and also acts as a safeguard against losses when one of the market decreases its profitability. Yeah. On the other side, from a con perspective, yes, being a smaller organization, sometimes it gets very hard nurturing some of this relationship with both audience on the same platform, etc. But I have seen, at least from an SMB perspective, this strategy working very, very well to create larger audience.
Thank you so much, Tanuj. So we already have a few questions in the chat box. So please keep sharing your questions in the chat window. And let me just pick up one of the questions from Sanat Kumar here. And I mean, any one of you, three of you, the question is that please give insights on strategies to market the unorganized sector. So any one of you would like to, maybe Navneet, you want to pick it up?
Yeah, see, the strategies for organized and unorganized sector doesn't differ much. The only thing is for the unorganized sector is you do not have any specific platforms where you could reach. But what is important for the unorganized sector is that you need to have your reach in terms of your website. If you do not have a website, have a Google site or something which helps you. And also that what you have to understand is that how you are marketing to different channels, in the sense that if you have you need to have Google My Business presence. That also helps a lot. Google now allows businesses not to just, I mean, there are lots of businesses which don't have websites, so you can just market through Google. You do not need any website these days. You can just have a Google site. So there are a lot of places where you could post your things. So for example, post your services about. So those are the things, but Google is something which comes handy for these, because people are, what is happening is, in pandemic, we are not going out. We are looking for something which is nearby. If I have to go, I would say, so what has happened is the near me searches in Google have increased quite a fold in this pandemic time. So people wants to find the way how they can approach nearest places or nearest things nearby. And the unorganized sector has gained in that, because not everybody has, because the stores are closed and not everybody wants to go into an air conditioned space. So that makes help for the unorganized sector, that they could be relying more on Google and more Google My Business and doing those sort of things. And of course, other channels like Instagram is also there. If they could have a followership on Instagram, and they could do more about, they can be more visual. So that's what I recommend.
I'll just give a quick stab on this, if you allow me, on the unorganized sector. I think you should, unorganized sector should mean unorganized ways. Quickly, I would say that please explore WhatsApp. It works. India is extremely populated by mobile phones, and WhatsApp is a political parties, as you know, uses WhatsApp, and it's very effective. So WhatsApp, people, you can create communities. You can use the same approaches that you use in normally small enterprise marketing. It will be very effective. And also use language. India is not an English speaking country. We are conditioned to believe that all digital marketing should be in English. It is not so. In fact, you'll be surprised that most of the communication online is actually happens in non-English. It's not in English, right? 83 or 84% is what I believe is not in English. So please explore languages.
That was very, very, very rightly pointed out, Diptaroop. So that takes us to the next question from Ankit Taneja, and maybe Tanuj, I would direct this to you. He would like to ask that what are the strategies to try for B2B market, national and international? And he also wants to ask that if we don't have physical presence in a city, but still provide service there, how to acquire that audience with Google or any other tool, keeping nearby point in mind? I think some of you have already answered this, but for Ankit, if you can just put it up once again, Tanuj.
Yeah, so I think let's talk about from an international perspective. Today, if you see, I think scale and the amount of dollar you spend on marketing does not truly translate into brand visibility, right? There are startups with a great product who are doing very, very well in international markets at a very short period of time, right? How are they doing it? I think it's all about translating into thought leadership creation, right? Be it around your product, be it around your service, right? I think nothing works better than that. So you have to make sure that you create some kind of a marketing recognition. The platforms could be different, right? In some markets, some platforms work well and better than some of the others. So we have to take a judicious look at that. But I think one of the ways is to basically create that brand awareness through thought leadership. Number two, I think, from a national perspective, there are other things which you can do, probably participate in some industry forums, etc. I think that also helps creating thought leadership very, very quickly. Also, as I said earlier, create your tribe. Nothing kind of, works better than creating that voice amplification and loyalty. And it may be a slow process to start with, but the application is very, very fast.
Good, no, thank you. That probably also answers your part of the question, Ankur, on B2B with the target audience. Let me now take up this question from Anshul Agarwal. What is the best way to analyze results against efforts for digital marketing? Diptaroop, you or Navneet, any one of you would like to take this up?
Yeah, let me go for, first. See, I feel that end of the day, coming from a B2B market and selling to businesses, the key North Star metric is the pipeline, sales pipeline. How much marketing has influenced that? Now, to measure that, there are various ways. If you just present web traffic and page views and bounce rate, trust me, you will be out of the organization very soon. Okay, so you have to measure things like what is the marketing pipeline that you've influenced, how many sales qualified leads have you influenced, how many what is the velocity of conversion from MQL to SQL, what is the quality of your leads, which means what is the how many of you are dropping out and what of the pipeline, and how many is going to the next stage. That is called quality of lead. What is the share of voice? There are various share of voice which allows you to measure your online reputation, your online awareness among your competition. What is your share of voice? Whether you then what is your position in various third-party platforms like a G2, Trustpilot, Gartner, peer reviews, and others. So there are many metrics like that. But ultimately, I would say the one which marketing should be measured and will be measured on is the marketing influence on sales pipeline. That's it.
I think.
Tarun, just to add to that,
go ahead.
Tarun, just to add to that, because I actually wear two hats. So so I'm also taking care of, let's say, India business for the organization, and I also head the global marketing. So when I wear the global marketing hat, I'm very, very happy on the traction created from MQL perspective, right? But when I wear my sales hat, or the business hat, then I start looking at the quality of the lead, right? And that's the difference, right? So at the end, it is all outcome driven. What can you bring to the business? So as I said earlier as well, marketing has to be very, very laser focused and business outcome driven.
Perfect. So Ankit feels that one of his questions is not answered. Is if we don't have physical presence in a city, but still provide service there, how to acquire that audience with Google or any other tool? Now, I mean, I'll just say one thing on this, that if you look at this webinar itself, we currently have almost 100 attendees. And we can assume it's over 40-45 cities people are attending this across different parts of North and other parts of India. So that's the power of digital. That's where we are able to get everybody together. Why just Google? It is so many different platforms which have emerged in this virtual but real world. But Diptaroop, would you like to, and I can see Navneet also smiling. So I'm sure Navneet, you may also want to add some icing on the cake. But Diptaroop, you want to say something on this?
Yeah, so I know coming from the background and having also marketed within the small cities in India, I believe that if you want to create your reach within cities where you're not physically present and digitally, that obviously LinkedIn is a very good platform. And I also would recommend Instagram to also, because Instagram also allows targeting. I know people will say that business to business won't work on Instagram. I do not subscribe to that viewpoint. If you have your messaging right, Instagram is just a channel and just a platform. And there are a lot more people on Instagram and Facebook than there are on LinkedIn. But if you want to address a professional, even if the city is like, say, Jabalpur or Tirunelveli and all that stuff, and so running a small, store to say a retail outlet selling PCs, personal computers, you would more likely than not have him on LinkedIn, because they are also ferreting business from LinkedIn, by the way. So the LinkedIn would be the platform that I would recommend. And second would be Facebook stroke Instagram, and third would be obviously part of Facebook, WhatsApp. These work according to my experience. You can build communities, you can do everything that you do normally in Google or those typical enterprise marketing approaches that you do on these platforms. But obviously your messaging, the way you write, the languages that you use. For example, if you're selling to Tirunelveli, you cannot use English as a mode of communication, right? It has to be Tamil. So those things just to change. But other than that, I think you can get along with it.
Yes, Navneet.
So just to answer specifically Google, because we do most of that. So the SEO is a good way to optimize your presence and rank for different cities. Just an example, we operate in Delhi and Noida, and although we build pages for particular cities, so those are the things which can be easily done. So if you build pages for a specific city, if you have and people are looking for specific things, they can rank if they are done right. So yes, that way is easy.
Okay, good. So I think we have a couple of more questions. One question from Lovely and Anshul, where they're trying to gather some insights from all of you that how we can get and predict exact leads from digital marketing. I mean, it's very interesting. I am personally always of the view that nothing like touch and feel. I mean, you have to showcase and you have to do things differently. Tanuj did share it briefly under his global role that we all need to get real in this virtual world. And to do that, you have to share that experience, gather the right level of customer experience for each one of your clients virtually, if not in the true real form. There was one example I was going through, and what we did in our organization as well, where we could not get a lot of customers traveling in the last few months. We created a virtual experience for each of those, as if somebody is sitting in France, UK, or anywhere in the world, they could feel as if they are visiting our offices in the offshore locations. So you will need to do some of these. But on the lead side of it, it's all you need to touch and feel. So Tanuj, you want to give a little view about how people can gather about the reality of leads through digital marketing?
So I think, I mean, to answer this, it's not simple as it sounds. Okay, number one. Okay, and I think you have to look at a very, very holistic picture for your business, and one size doesn't fit all. Okay, so what may work for me may not work for you. It has to look at the industry type, the segment, all of that, right? Where you operate, etc. Number one. Number two, I think what is very, very important is the channel itself. Which channels may work for you better? So that you have to figure out yourself, right? And third is how do I create a niche in my market space, right? So all of these factors actually contribute to the overall lead gen process. Tarun.
No, thank you for that. There is a follow-up question from Apoorv on how could someone target audience in a more effective way through the external websites. So Navneet, I think you do some of this work. Do you want to pick that up?
Yeah, sure. So see, the only ways to external websites is a vast field. So how would you define external websites? External website would be Google, the whole point is you need to be there where the audience is. So you just can't be on a channel where nobody's coming. So if you are a B2B, LinkedIn suits, yes, as the group said that Instagram is a good channel, that also is there. So the external base is the target audience. You need to decide, just not because your target audience is on LinkedIn, but there is you need to put it on Instagram as well, because that's also helped. Because the same audience, it's not that they have different audience. It's just that when I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on a professional, wearing a professional hat, but I don't take off my hat when I'm on Instagram. I'm reading, I'm absorbing things. So you don't need to just take it that, okay, Instagram is just not for B2B. It is not for B2B, but yes, people, the audience is almost similar. It's not that I am not going on Facebook, I am only active on LinkedIn. But if there is something which is, you do not bombard me with, as I mentioned earlier, about directly about the product, but the benefits of your brand and product. So those are the things which can be done. And so I would say that is very, very important for external websites, if these things could be done that.
Thanks, Navneet. Anshul would like to know what are the common mistakes which businesses do while doing digital marketing. I mean, digital marketing is something which can be very efficient and sometimes dangerous as well. That you just press the send button or an upload button and that's it. So you need to be extra careful and cautious as well, because one Twitter feed can do wonders, and one Twitter feed can take you to different places as well, not where you want to go. So, Diptaroop, do you want to say something about this? One or two common mistakes?
Quickly, I'll say, firstly, I think one mistake that everybody is making is over dependency or over investment in tools without understanding what the tools can be do. There are too many tools out there. Almost all of them are complementary. So there is a lot of, so that is first mistake people do. Second, they do is they don't have clear objectives. What do they want digital marketing to do? Because digital marketing is a channel. It is not. It's not a solution to all your ills. It's a channel, less like television was or print is. And third is defining the ideal customer profile. In my mind, is the biggest mistake. Not paying enough attention to define who you want to talk to. People, what they do is, okay, VP sales, VP finance, and that's it, right? But within that, if they, in my mind, there are three levels of decision making cycle. There is a decision maker, there is a champion, there is a researcher. People forget the researcher. These are sometimes even students. Just to give you a small example, very large multinational organizations are recruiting IIM students for the internship to try to find out which is the best freight sourcing automation tool. Now, if your tool does not come in their radar, you will never go up the cycle. So you defining the right ICP is extremely critical, and one of the biggest mistakes that people are making in digital marketing.
Okay, no, thank you so much. So I think what we're seeing in the last close to an hour is that we've been able to gather a lot of valuable insight with respect to strategies for new age digital marketeers to build a stronger and more resilient business for the times ahead. So I would say that, 5 points which I captured were building connections, listen to your customers and anticipate their needs, leveraging technology and enhanced digital presence, investing in your teams and keeping them motivated. And one point which I normally feel is very, very important always is that keep calm and stay focused. So a good crisis should never be wasted. So with those 5 points, before we try to bring it up towards closure, one or two lines from each one of you, Tanuj, Diptaroop, and Navneet, as your last parting words to the audience, please. Tanuj?
Yeah, sure. So, from my perspective, let's be very, very clear. Digital marketing is not an online switch which you can plug in and, start playing. I think one of the things which we completely miss out, and we start with an euphoria, right? When we build a new website, etc. But the only thing we forget is that content needs to be farmed and churned, right? And we should also look at content syndication strategy, etc., to create that thought leadership mindset.
Yeah, I would say that digital marketing is a channel, is a platform for you to reach out to your audience. The audience has not changed. The way they consume your communication has changed. The audience per se is still looking for those typical things like increasing efficiency and all the stuff. There's one question which was asked by someone about attribution. There are various tools about attribution. So you need to, in digital marketing, you need to understand attribution to know which of those channels, social media or Google Analytics or website or inbound or videos, which is giving you the maximum leads. You have to be accurate, because no tool is going to give you all the data at the touch of it. If there is a tool like that, please let me know. I would like to have it on board. And third point I would like to say is, please invest a lot in your messaging, the message that you want to take, and the message to the right ICP. Remember, a researcher, a junior executive is not looking for the same information that the VP is. And if you send the same information, one of them will get angry. So these are the 3 points I would like to end.
Thank you. Thank you, Diptaroop. Navneet, very quickly, your parting lines.
Yeah, so what I would say is, one very important thing is, digital marketing is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So people have to understand that what they say, I have built the website and they'll come, that's not going to happen. If somebody thinks because I am paying you and in a 1 month I'm going to do wonders, then I would have done it for myself. So, and I would have been in 20 industries. So that's not something is going to happen. You need to have patience, as defined, that you need to have right audience. And most importantly, you need to have a website if you are trying to be digital, or whichever medium you are landing on people on. It's important. We didn't discuss about mobile, but it should work fine on mobile. That's very, very important if you are trying to good, because most of people are now accessing all this information on mobile. So that's what will be my parting.
No, that's good. And I think you've rightly said, Navneet, we've got couple of great examples from India itself. One is Arogya Setu and the other one is CoWIN, which are working wonderfully on mobile. And now global countries, different countries would like to adapt to this to help market their thoughts and approach towards vaccination and this pandemic. So with that, thank you to all our eminent speakers, Diptaroop, Tanuj, and Navneet. It was real pleasure to have you with us. In this VUCA world, leaders like you are the catalyst to build an agile organization. Perhaps the next normal future may require each one of us to step up and assume the newer additional roles and responsibilities. Thank you all for attending. We hope you have learned and gathered some useful insights. Any unanswered questions, I'm sure Sahil is collating all of them and we will get it responded back to you. So with the paucity of time and it's good that we are just on time on this one. So Sahil, over to you for the closing, please. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, dear panelists, for touching on really insightful topics of digital marketing. Digital marketing being one of my favorite subjects too. I think it was really insightful to hear it from the stalwarts of digital marketing. And this is tough to accommodate the entire session in an hour or so. But then we are happy to take up the queries offline. Do share your valuable feedback at lenica@nascom.in, and we are happy to take up all the questions offline. And for all the upcoming sessions, please do keep a tab at nascom.in/events, and we'll catch up in the subsequent sessions. So thank you all for joining in, and stay safe. Thank you.
Stay safe. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.